The moment the glass shattered, everyone in the restaurant froze, but what the billionaire CEO saw next would change his life forever, and it all started with a waitress no one even noticed. Before we begin, if you love emotional stories that stay with you long after they end, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. You don't want to miss what's coming next. The evening had started like any other for Adrian Vale. A man known across the country as a ruthless billionaire CEO, his presence alone was enough to silence rooms and command attention. People feared him, admired him, envied him, but very few truly knew him. Especially not the side of him that sat quietly at the corner table that night, watching his son. Ethan Vale, 10 years old, sat across from his father, gently tapping his fingers against the table. His movements were repetitive, his gaze unfocused, yet full of quiet wonder. Ethan was autistic. The world overwhelmed him, sounds, lights, sudden movements, but Adrian had learned, slowly and imperfectly, how to navigate it with him. Or at least, he thought he had. The restaurant wasn't supposed to be crowded. Adrian had specifically reserved a private section to avoid unnecessary stress for Ethan. But a scheduling error had packed the place. Clinking glasses, loud laughter, waiters rushing, everything Ethan struggled with was suddenly unavoidable. Adrian's jaw tightened. He hated unpredictability. He hated losing control. "Sir, we're so sorry," the manager whispered nervously. "We'll try to clear the area." Adrian didn't respond. His focus was on Ethan, who was beginning to rock slightly, his breathing growing uneven. And then she appeared. Her name was Lila, a waitress. Young, probably mid-20s. Tired eyes, simple uniform, nothing remarkable at first glance. She wasn't assigned to their table, but she noticed something others didn't. She noticed Ethan. Instead of approaching with the usual forced smile, she slowed down. She didn't speak immediately. She simply crouched a few feet away, lowering herself to Ethan's level, careful not to invade his space. "Hey," she said softly, not directly to him, but near him. "It's a little loud in here, isn't it?" Ethan didn't respond, but he stopped rocking. Adrian watched carefully, his instincts sharp. He didn't trust strangers around his son. "I know a quieter spot," Lila continued gently. "No rush, just, if you want." She placed a folded napkin on the table and slowly drew a small smiley face on it. Ethan's eyes flickered. That tiny reaction, Adrian caught it, and something shifted. For the first time that evening, Ethan reached, not for his father, but for the napkin. Adrian leaned back, stunned. Lila stood slowly. "I'll be right over there," she said, pointing to a quieter corner partially shielded by a decorative divider. No pressure, no insistence, just patience. Minutes later, Ethan stood up on his own. Adrian followed, silent. They moved to the quieter area. The noise faded slightly. Ethan sat down again, calmer now. Lila returned with a glass of water, not placed abruptly, but gently slid across the table. "No ice," she said softly. "Sometimes the sound bothers people." Adrian's eyes narrowed slightly. "How did you know that?" he asked. Lila hesitated. "My younger brother," she replied simply. "He's like him." Something unspoken passed between them. Adrian nodded once. For the first time in years, someone understood without needing explanation. But peace doesn't last forever. Across the restaurant, a group of loud businessmen began celebrating something, cheering, clapping, raising their voices. One of them stumbled, knocking over a tray of glasses. The crash echoed like an explosion. Ethan flinched violently. His breathing spiraled, hands over ears, eyes squeezed shut, and then panic. Adrian stood up instantly, his chair scraping loudly. Ethan, look at me." But Ethan couldn't. The world had already become too much. People turned, whispered, some stared, others frowned. "Control your kid," someone muttered. And that's when everything changed. Before Adrian could react, before the situation could escalate, Lila moved. She stepped directly between Ethan and the crowd. Not aggressively, not dramatically, protectively. She crouched again, closer this time, but still gentle. "It's okay," she said softly. "You're safe. It's just noise. It's gone now." Ethan's hands trembled. Lila looked around quickly, then grabbed 2 folded napkins and placed them gently over his ears, like soft barriers. "Can you breathe with me?" she whispered. She inhaled slowly, exhaled, again, and again. Something miraculous happened. Ethan followed, slowly, shakily, but he followed. The room, once filled with judgment, went quiet. Even the loud businessmen stopped. Adrian stood frozen. He had spent years learning techniques, attending therapy sessions, reading everything he could, but in this moment, this stranger had reached his son in seconds. Not with authority, not with control, but with understanding. Ethan's breathing steadied, his hands lowered, and then, he looked at her. Really looked. Lila smiled gently. There you go. Adrian swallowed hard. Something in his chest tightened. Something unfamiliar. Gratitude, mixed with guilt. Why hadn't he been able to do that? Why did it take a stranger? The tension broke when one of the businessmen scoffed. This is why kids like that shouldn't be in public places. The words hung heavy. Adrian's head snapped toward him, fury igniting instantly. But before he could speak, Lila stood up. Her voice wasn't loud, but it was firm. Kids like him deserve to be everywhere, she said. Maybe the world just needs to learn how to be kinder. Silence. Absolute silence. Adrian stared at her. No fear, no hesitation, just truth. The manager rushed over, apologizing repeatedly, trying to smooth things over, but Adrian raised his hand. No, he said quietly. His eyes were still on Lila. Let her speak. That night didn't end the way anyone expected. Adrian didn't leave immediately. He didn't make a scene. Instead, he sat back down. And for the first time in a long time, he listened. He asked Lila about her brother. About what helped. About what didn't. About patience. About mistakes. And she answered, honestly, openly, without trying to impress him. Because she didn't know who he was. Not yet. When the bill came, Adrian didn't even look at it. He simply said, "What's your name?" Lila. Lila, he repeated. How would you feel about changing your job? She blinked, confused. Excuse me, I run a foundation, he said. We fund support programs for children like my son. She stared at him, realization dawning. You're Adrian Vale. He nodded. Her eyes widened, but her posture didn't change. No sudden respect, no fear, just the same calm presence. I don't have degrees, she said carefully. I don't need degrees, Adrian replied. I need people who understand. Weeks later, Lila walked into a new role, not as a waitress, but as a lead support specialist in one of Adrian's newly expanded centers. But the real change wasn't in the job. It was in Adrian. He started showing up more, listening more, learning more, and Ethan, he started smiling more, connecting more. One evening, months later, Adrian watched as Ethan sat with Lila, laughing quietly over something only they understood. And for the first time in years, Adrian felt something he couldn't buy, control, or command. Peace. Because sometimes, the strongest people aren't the ones with power. They're the ones who choose kindness, when no one is watching. And sometimes, it takes a single moment, a single act of compassion, to remind us what truly matters. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more powerful stories like this. You never know, the next one might change the way you see the world.